Alright, hey, what's up, guys? Happy Black Friday. This is my big Black Friday purchase, but I did buy a few other things, so I'll go ahead and fill you guys in on that as well. But I wanted to do a review today of the PRS HDRX 20. The last video I did was a little bit loud in that room, and it was didn't quite come across the way that I would hoped. And so I'm going to do a little bit of an actual review because I just love this amp, and I think there's a lot of questions out there about it, and I was like, well, I have one. Let's do it. So I'm going to use the Strat today, obviously, but I'm just going straight into the amp, into the 1x12 PRS cabinet, both made in Indonesia, and as far as I can tell, great build quality, absolutely no complaints. And I love the aesthetic as well. It's very it grew on me, especially as the days went on, but let's start out kind of going with my go-to here, which is a very clean tone, which this does as well as any amp I've ever played through. Spoiler alert here, I like this better than my 2-Rock I had, and it even edges out the Bassman I had, the Fender Bassman 77 Bassman 70. I like this one better, so let's get going with that said. Okay, so that's kind of how I like the EQ setting, but that's with the presence rolled all the way off. So that's if you want to just kind of blend in, get some, get some nice rhythm tracks going, but it still has a very forwardness to it. It doesn't sound like there's a blanket over it or anything. It just sounds like it's a little pulled back. So I have the master a little less than halfway, but I have both the treble and the bass volumes down below 2, because that's when it's really clean. And this thing has a bunch of headroom, so once you start cranking it above halfway, it does have plenty of headroom. It doesn't start crunching on the power section. I'm running about 9 o'clock on the mid section, a little less than halfway on both the treble and the bass. So I'm pushing the mids a little bit, and I have the mid switch off. So that's the sound you're hearing right now. Once again, no presence. Roll in some presence and see how it really comes alive, and it's makes you stand out even more. So this is the presence halfway up, so I went all the way to halfway up. Let's crank the presence up. When you go all the way on the presence, it's a little much for me, so I'm going to crank it to where I like it maxed out, like if I were to max it out, a little past 9 o'clock. Turn the master volume down, and I'm going to start turning up the treble and bass volume to show you how that overdrives. So typically, if I'm going to get an overdrive going, so far what I like to do is go halfway on the treble, go about 3/4 with the bass, and kind of tweak it from there. So let's see what we get. And granted, I do have my volume on my guitar about 7, 8, so it is rolled back some. I don't like going flat out on these strats. Especially on the big chords, you can hear it really start to neck pickup, by the way, so I'm not on the middle pickup or anything. That's how much clarity this thing has. It's got just that little rattle going, which is cool. I like it. So that's 3/4 on the bass volume, okay? But that's masters. It's barely coming in. So once I crank in some more, you see the body really comes out of this amp. And I don't think it's going to come through on the microphone I'm using right now, but this thing has a bunch of bass end, so even with the 1x12, you can really move a lot of air. It's a 70-watt speaker, and I can see why it moves a bunch of air. So let me crank the bass volume. I'm going to leave the treble volume at halfway and then roll some in. So that's about it. That's like very straightforward, kind of what this thing does. I really am digging the tones in it. As some people are asking, is it a gainy amp? And as you can hear, not really. You know, it has some push, but it doesn't break up heavy. But truthfully, when you go super loud volumes, which this thing is capable of, well, I shouldn't say super loud because I played through the 50 watt. I didn't even play through the 100 watt, and the walls were shaking at 1/4 volume. So not that loud, but this thing still gets loud. When you're pushing that kind of volume, you don't necessarily need a ton of gain. So I think the way they did this, or really the way Hendrix helped design this, is just spot. I think it's fantastic. Can't say a bad thing about it. Some people might complain about the lack of effects loop, but that doesn't bother me any. I'm just running a fuzz straight into the front, but the fuzz is off right now. But for those of you who stuck around, I am going to play the fuzz. I'm going to turn some fuzz on and see how it goes. Right on, guys. Those of you stuck around, hey, feel free to put questions in the comment section, and I will do my best to answer those. Because especially if you're thinking about buying one, let me know what you're wondering about it. I'll do my best to answer them. Rock on, guys.